And what they find is, and I'm showing you a graph in a moment, more depression and suicidality in response to stressful events if you have the short version of the allele. The short version we just said is the one that seems to drive a bigger anxiety response to fearful places in the amygdala. Okay? So it seems, first pass, to be a gene that's associated with responding in a more anxious way to environmental stress, threat, and bad things. So here's a couple of graphs. I'll just do a couple with you. Here's the probability of major depression if you've had no maltreatment as a child, if you've probably had some, or you've had documented horrible maltreatment as a child. And what you can see, if you have the long version, this line here, the long version of this allele, no difference. It's as if you happen to be born in the biological lottery that we all participate in at birth, with these version of these genes, and maybe many other genes that are part of the story, but they just measured this one, that it doesn't matter how people, whether you live in a nice, supportive environment or a brutalizing, horrible one, your probability of depression is about the same. It's a protective gene for stresses of life that are visited upon you. If you have the opposite, the short version, look, the worse the environment, you double your chances of depression. It's as if you're born with a gene that if you're given a terrible environment, this is exactly an interaction, right? Then you're very susceptible to that. And you see the same, the same rough pattern in all of them, that the individuals who have this version of the gene seem to be relatively impervious to environmental stressors. The ones born with this version of the gene are terribly. So, if this person is born with this version of the gene but happens to be in a nice supportive household, no problem, right? Okay. But if they happen to be born into a household where they experience, sadly, severe maltreatment, big problem. And so this is exactly what we imagine if we understood any depth what people are about, the genetic potentiations you're born with, what's easy for you or hard for you by genes, and the world you're handed as an infant, not under your control, but the environment you're given, supportive or threatening, right? How those two things play out in a sort of duet, making you safe or putting you at risk. That's exactly what then we would deeply understand the biology and the psychology of human life. So this is the kind of study that gets a lot of attention because if we had it exactly right, which we don't yet, we would understand something really deep about people and vulnerability in an environment.